Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Beauty and Brains, a podcast about first girls for first girls. I'm your host, Shimani Wakamla from 14481 Don't Blink. And today I'm here with Peyton. Peyton, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Peyton. I've been in first for 6 years now, and I'm excited to be here with you.
Yes. So, can you tell us a little about your journey into STEM? Like you said, you've been in first for a little bit, so how you kind of got into first and where you are now in first.
The first time I found first was through Girl Scouts in LA. They offered where they would pay half of the cost. So I started a Lego team, and I did Lego there for a year. And then COVID hit, and we had to return our kit, and I moved. Then I started a team in New Mexico, and it was pretty fun. After that, I moved out here to Atlanta, where I am now on FTC Team Robo Ribbits after doing another year of Lego with yet another team. And I am actually just now this season doing FRC with the mechanisms.
That's so much fun. So far, what has been like one of your most like defining moments in first, like one of your best experiences so far?
I think that the best experience for me has been at several of our competitions where we weren't doing as good, and yet there were other teams and other people who helped us, whether that was the day of states when our odometry broke and another team managed to get us one that night, or things like that. That's what I love about first.
Yeah, definitely. As I've done a little bit of my research, you are one of first like a girls ambassadors and one of their founding members. Do you want to like talk about that a little bit and your experience with that?
So my team joined First Like Girl almost 2 years ago now, and it's really awesome. We tend to do buttons and stickers and giveaways along with sharing it at any event we go to. Our team also then works on doing workshops, especially targeting girls to get them into first, where they actually get to build and program their own robot. And we started that kind of through, we call it Globotics, Girls Lead on Robotics. And then that's how we sort of got involved with First Like a Girl as well, was coordinating that. And now we continue to work with First Like a Girl and be one of their ambassador teams to share that girls can do first.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing. What do you think is like one of your like biggest challenges that you face like within doing all of this and how have you overcome it?
So, one of the challenges that I faced for very long was being the only girl in the room and walking in there. It's a little scary sometimes, but what I found was that if you can introduce someone, even if it's just pulling them in with a little nudge, now it gives them someone to help. I remember my very first year in FTC at the first competition, there was a girl from another team who came over and simply helped explain what was happening. And I still remember how much of an impact that made on me.
Yeah, definitely. Being like the only girl in a room, especially when it comes to STEM, can be a little intimidating, and it's glad to see that you come over it. Do you have any like tips for, girls starting out in first and they're facing that challenge of being the only girl or being even the only unexperienced girl in the room and like coming over that?
I think my biggest tip would be just go try it, because if you never try, you'll never know if you can do it. And being willing to go try it means you'll be able to learn the skills if you don't know them. And sometimes, yes, that means that you got to be willing to step outside your comfort zone and jump up there a little bit. But that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. And you never know where it can get you. Like, obviously like you seem to be enjoying first and same over here. It's just an amazing experience. So you talked about how this year is your first year starting in FRC. So do you want to talk about like that transition a little bit? Are you still on your FTC team, balancing both, transitioning into a different game and different rules?
So I am still on my FTC team as well as jumping in with an FRC team. And the transition wasn't exactly easy. There's a lot of things that are slightly different, but still use the same general knowledge. There have also been things like how to use some of the tools and the build and such that I found really easy because I already knew how to do them. I ended up being technician at our first competition a couple weeks ago, which was a lot of fun. And this season, I actually ended up, funny enough, on an FRC team with some other FTC kids who I competed against earlier this season.
Wow, that must have been a little nerve-wracking, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's a lot of fun. First is all about like little friendly competition. That definitely sounded like a lot of fun.
definitely.
So like another thing is like what does like leadership mean to you? You mentioned how you're a technician and that's kind of comes with some leadership positions. Like what does leadership mean to you?
To me, leadership means helping to aid others in their learning, whether that is showing them how to use a wrench and nut driver or simply helping to be another person there to give advice. But I think to me, it mostly just means to be able to assist and truly lead others so that they can become leaders as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, what do you think is like the biggest lesson you learned from the different types of leadership you've had to put out, starting new teams that requires a lot of leadership, obviously. What do you think is the biggest takeaway that you've had from doing it?
I think the biggest takeaway for me was that once I learn something, if I can teach it, then I've really learned it. After having to teach how to build and program the Lego robots, it made it for me so that I actually knew how to do it. And every time I teach it, I then gain more knowledge as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like learning from your own mistakes. And I think teaching definitely helps like learning even more than just like doing it yourself. As a person who also mentors FLL teams, like I find it really interesting, like especially working with like younger kids, like trying to integrate their thoughts and like figure that out. Like I feel like I'm learning more myself. Like and there's some times where like they'll do something and it's like, wow, like I didn't even think of that. Like wow. Like, wow. So with that, what motivates you to continue pushing and like doing first and like starting teams and like continuing in first? What do you think is your biggest motivation or maybe even who do you think is your biggest motivation?
So I think at first it was something interesting to do. However, as I've continued to participate in robotics teams throughout the years, I've kind of found a love for it and I really enjoy the puzzle and problem solving and strategy that comes along with building and programming the robots.
Yeah, definitely. And along this way, who do you think was your biggest motivation like in terms of a person?
So I think that my mom definitely was a motivating factor. She is currently my FTC team's coach and was the one willing to continue to do first, even as we moved from state to state. I think the other people that helped me were my teammates now. Some of them have been with me for several years, and we keep pushing each other and motivating each other to continue. And that's been something big as well.
Yeah, that's definitely like the best part of being on a team, just like helping out each other and like motivating each other when it comes to that. And the a part of being on a team is like lifting each other up, and it seems like that's really good. And like overall, there's always more people coming into STEM, and only so many of them are girls, and First has been doing a great job trying to motivate girls in First, and with First like a girl, and just like seeing all these like women only teams like is great. Do you have like an opinion, like what do you think is like, or like why do you think it's so important to have women in STEM?
I think that women should be in STEM because women are just as good at it as men are. And honestly, why not open it to everyone? Because everyone should have an equal chance to try it. And if it's not their thing, okay. But if you never get to try it, how would you know?
Yeah, definitely. And another factor is just like representation. Like, seeing girls do that, like when I was first joining my FTC team, being able to see those girls on my team, like being able to do everything that I would love to do. It's great to see. And like in my academy, like there's an old girls team, and it's like almost like inspirational. It's like wow, like just that representation, like I could be doing that just like how these girls are. And you know when you start, like even if it was young, like I started, first like when I was little, and like seems to be the same with you, like just seeing like my when I originally started first, like my coach is female, so it was like wow, like she like has a career in first, like or like in STEM, and it's like really like motivating, like I would say definitely it's
Most
like a
definitely.
great experience. Yeah, it's like a great experience to have. So, with that and all these younger girls joining first, like, do you have like any like advice, like especially maybe advice to even like parents who are trying to get their younger like girls into first? As you said, you started with the Girl Scouts team. So, how do you think they should, get their girls encouraged into STEM?
So I think that something I see a lot is that girls tend to kind of step away from STEM and STEM fields when they're young, and that if you provide them the opportunities to try it, whether that is at Girl Scouts or other things, find a team and go see what it's like, and don't be afraid to try something new, because I know a lot of girls who were afraid to try robotics simply because they were afraid of failing or of seeing others do better.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. And like with that, sometimes it's like discouraging to like have that feeling of like, oh, like what if I don't do well? Or like you're at competition, it's like, oh, like what if we lose? Like, maybe this isn't for me, but just keep going, pushing yourself. Um, Even if it's just like encouraging your kids to get into first, like keep pushing your kids, definitely. And earlier I asked you about what your most like favorite experience or fondest experience within First is. Now I want to ask you, what do you think was a really like hard experience within First, in or out of that competition setting? Like, do you think is one of your hardest experiences, and like, how do you like interpret that now so you can use it as a motivation factor?
I think that my hardest experience was probably not knowing all of it and trying to learn and understand a whole new set of rules, especially when I moved from FLL to FTC,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, and figuring out that it's okay to ask questions, and it the other teams and the other people on my team are there to help, and that I don't have to do it on my own.
Yeah, definitely. How do you think like that environment of your first FTC team helped you feel like the need to like continue going? Like, if they were welcoming, how do you think that helped you realize like this is where I want to be? Like, FDC is where I what I want to do.
I think that the reason I wanted to continue after that was because it gave me a challenge and a reason to push forward. I wanted to learn more. I started to jump really far into the programming, and actually, me and one of my teammates have been working on creating a program in blocks that is like how Roadrunner and Pedropathing work, because we wanted it to be more accessible to everyone. And we went, hey, we can't do this in blocks, but that's what we use. So it kind of gave me a new challenge and something to continue to motivate me to stay in first.
Yeah, definitely. A challenge is always great. Um, and I asked you earlier, like, what is one of your challenges and how you came over them. So using that lesson learned from, challenges that you faced in first or like you said, the transition and everything, using what you've learned from that challenge, how do you think you can like kind of pass that knowledge down onto new members joining your team or even like new people trying to get into STEM?
So, something that I've learned and how I passed on is that if you only start to learn the skills when the season starts, or if you're just building per manual and don't get to explore it, you don't learn as much. So now during our off season, we actually have a kind of open time where teammates and new members can come in and build or program, choose what they want to. And every new team member starts with a Rev Minibot build and program so that they can learn how to actually build and program, along with doing some CAD and some stuff like that. Because if you never learned how to do it, we found that when just one member knew how to do CAD, it didn't work very well. So now we all know.
That's great. That's great to hear. And, that truly does make a team successful, just like everybody being willing to open and do new things. So, this is like a little bit of a longer question, but if you were to talk to like yourself when you were first joining, when you were little first joining FLL, what is one thing that you would tell her?
Um, Honestly, I would tell her not to give up just because things were changing. There was a while where I felt like maybe first wasn't the best thing for me, and that, I wanted to go somewhere else. But I think that that's part of what I would tell her was just because it's hard, don't give up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's what like even just like a lot of people need to hear like now, when things don't necessarily go right at competition, like that's the first thing that you want to hear. Like, you can't give up. Like, you got to keep going and keep working at it. And, with one more thing is like there's always next season. Like, you can always, use your experiences learned from the season before to push yourself harder for the next season. Definitely. And if like you walked into a room and there was like only like it was like girls who just like never did STEM before and they're like wow, like this is experience is great. Like based off of your lesson learned and your experiences, what's like one thing that you would tell them? Just like one thing that you would tell them.
Come join me and try it yourself.
Yeah,
And I would
definitely.
share about how First has affected my life now that I used to want to be an artist and go into art. But after seeing robotics, I actually found I enjoy engineering much more, and that it's a very different puzzle and challenge. So I guess I would try to both share what First is to me and how it's affected me, and go, hey, come play, come try it, come join me, just for fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
try.
definitely. I think like the overall factor is just like, especially with like first and with FTC and FRC and FLL, it's just like, just come try. Like, just give it a shot. And I think it's like that for everything, but especially for, robotics in this way where it's so hands-on and, you know, although the ideas of it are somewhat complex, learning them isn't too hard when you are just hands-on, just trying your best. Definitely. And I think that's the amazing thing that First has done. And First has fostered and like made such a great environment for new people to come in and to try new things. I mean, I never thought I was gonna go into engineering or mechanical anything until joining First and realizing, wow, like this is like what I want to do. Like this is great. Yeah, definitely. And just like one last question. At the beginning of the podcast, I asked you like a little bit on how you like got into STEM and you mentioned how you moved around a lot from state. I think you mentioned like Los Angeles, New Mexico, Georgia. Um, with moving, obviously there comes from challenges and starting new teams. What would you like what would you advise somebody who has to move and has to move to a different team that might be a little bit scared to join that new team? And like, what if it's not like the same as the team that they were on before?
I think that I would encourage them to take a look at several teams in their area because every team is a little different. And sometimes it's finding that perfect group of kids for you. It's also if you know how to do, some of the stuff, don't be afraid to share. Hey, I'm already in first. I've already done this. I remember meeting someone who had done FTC or Lego for a couple years, but then had moved to somewhere else. And they said they didn't get to do much on their team. And I asked, well, did you share what you can do? And they didn't. So I would definitely advise that share what you know and that you do have knowledge. This isn't a totally new thing just because you switch from one team to another.
Yeah, definitely. So, unfortunately, we are coming to the end of my time. I just want to say thank you, Peyton, for coming on and talking about your experience and your advice. I think you gave some amazing advice that will definitely help like many different girls and or maybe just people in first. Like you said, everybody is should be treated the same, and everybody has a reason to be doing robotics and to be in first. And to the viewers, thank you so much for joining us in today's episode of Beauty and Brains. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you next Sunday. Thank you.